Hello children, this is your teacher for the day Azhar Khurshid, and today we are going to discuss Henry Fayol's 14 Principles of Management. Children, you know that we already discussed scientific management principles as given by F.W. Taylor. These were particularly meant for the operational level, that means the lowest level. But today, the 14 principles of management that we are going to discuss are meant for the general management or for the administration, as you say. Henry Fayol was known for his administrative works and his papers which came out in his times. And now we are going to discuss the first principle out of these 14 principles. The first one being division of labor. What does division of labor mean? It means simply that as the organization grows larger, you have to divide the whole work into smaller components and give each work to a specialist. The specialist will do this work in the effective and efficient manner, and then the whole work will be actually effective and efficient. This means that you should not give the whole work to one person, it should be divided into smaller components. And the specialized person, the person who is specialized in this particular work, will add something good to it. He will do it in the best possible manner. This is actually the crux of this division of work. Now coming on to the next one, which is authority and responsibility. Now please understand, these authority and responsibility things go together. They cannot be separated. Whenever you give authority to somebody, it has to be with some responsibility. And when you give some responsibility to some person, it has to go with some amount, at least some amount of authority also. Let me give you an example. Say for example, I am giving some responsibility to my factory manager or a production manager to meet a target of 200 units in 1 month. He has to produce it. Now he is doing it, but at the same time, I am not giving him that small authority of filing a requisition for the required tools and equipments. Every time he goes to his boss and says that I need this, which will in effect affect his work. So we have to give some amount of authority with whatever responsibility I am giving to him. So authority is actually the right to give orders and receive obedience. But at the same time, if you are not giving him the right kind of authority with that responsibility which you have given to him, it will not work for him. He will be inefficient. And vice versa. Say for example, you are giving him authority and it should be with some responsibility also. Otherwise, it will be like he will have all the freedom to do whatever he does and he can. Otherwise, you are giving him more authority and it will be a mismatch. So the parity of authority and responsibility says that there should be a balance between authority and responsibility. There should be not an authority only or responsibility only. They should go together. So next comes discipline. We all know what is discipline because we are in schools, in college, and it's all discipline everywhere. But at the same time, do we actually know what discipline is? Say for example, you are in an organization. First of all, every level there should be discipline. That means there should be people who are just and fair to their actions, to whatever they do. Now giving you an example, say for example, my workers are helping me out. They have given me a commitment that they will finish their target by working extra hours and they will not be charging anything for that because the company right now is going through a financial crisis. And it's also a commitment from me as an organization that after I come out of this financial crisis, I'll be paying them some bonuses, which is extra out of my profit if I earn profit. So this means that after my completion of work as a worker, I am doing something for the company, I am giving extra hours. But at the same time, I am committed to my whatever I said. But the company also has to be committed to its word. It has to do that whatever it has said already. Say for example, it has to give that extra 5% bonus. It has to distribute that profit in the workers. It has to keep its word. I will have to keep my word. This will be discipline. Next is unity of command. This is very, very important. Otherwise, everything will be in a fix, everything will be in a confused order. It says that there should be one command coming from one boss to one employee for one work at one time. It should not be that several people together as bosses will come to me and command for the same work differently, and I'll have no choice but to be in a fix and confuse and leave the work at times. I'll surrender. Because for the same work, say for example, I have been told that finish this thing by tomorrow, and another one is coming as a boss and saying that not tomorrow, it should be today only, and the next one is coming for the quality and next one is coming for some other time. This means that for the same work there are several other orders. I'll be confused, I'll leave it. I'll have no choice. So there should be one command for one work from one boss at one time. So this is unity of command. Unity of direction. What is unity of direction? Please understand. At times people confuse it with unity of command. It's not that. Unity of direction says that each and every component of the organization, whether they are in other departments, they are doing something else apparently, but they are working towards the same objective. Say for example, I am working in a school and I am seeing different departments at the same time. There are IT departments, there are lower departments, higher departments, there are bookshops, there are medical shops, there are many other things. But what are we doing? At the end of the day, the direction is towards the same goal. We are imparting education to the society. This is our main goal. And what level it should be, we all should know it. It should be very well clearly stated before we start anything. So we all are working in the same direction and it should be the same. The next one being the subordination of the individual interest over the general interest. What is that subordination? What is that individual interest? And what is the general interest? Subordination means it should come next, not the first. It should not preferred over anything. Subordination. Individual interest means my own interest over the general interest means the organizational interest. Say for example, we'll be taking this example which is a negative example, but still it will work here. Say for example, we have a strike coming up. There is a thing like strike comes up in the organization. People are actually wanting more salaries, more wages for their work, and presently the company is not in a position to give them more salaries. Now, I as a member of this particular organization should understand that this is not the right time for me to say it. I should understand it. This strike and more salaries is my own interest. It's individual interest, and general interest is organization. Because if the organization comes out of this financial crisis and strives back, it will benefit me in the coming tomorrow. So I have to see the general interest. General interest means interest of all, interest of organization, not my own. So somewhere I should understand that my interest should be subordinated. It should be subordinate to the general interest, means general interest of all, because this organization is giving the work to all those employees that are working with me. I should be somewhere a person who will stop all this. So next comes remuneration. Very, very important. After all, why do we do all this? Because we want to earn something. Our worker is in need of the money that he will be receiving at the end of the day and at the end of the month. So remuneration is something which is satisfying, which is motivation for a worker, for everybody for that matter. Now this worker should get at least a just and equitable remuneration. What is just and equitable remuneration? Just means as he deserves, as per his work. And equitable means it should be competitive enough as in the other organization of the people who are working at the same level as he does. He should be given that much, even more than that, but at least that much. And the remuneration should be at least that much that will earn him in living. At least he should be satisfied. If it does not earn him a bread and butter, why is he working at all? So it should be just and equitable. Just and equitable. Now coming on to the next point, that is centralization and decentralization. Now first of all, we must be clear about what is centralization. At times we have organizations where they retain whole of the authority and powers at the center. Center means at the top level of the management, but they do not decentralize the powers. They do not give adequate powers to the middle lower levels because they want to keep everything with themselves, the whole authority. This is centralization. Decentralization, where we have powers at the middle lower levels also, because the middle level is actually going to translate all those plans that are formulated at the top level to the lower level. So they should at least have the authorities. They should know everything. So Henry Fayol was of the view that every time it cannot be centralization, because you cannot be retaining everything at the top. They also should be knowing and they should have equal authority to disperse all these work that they are doing. So this means that Henry Fayol was of the view there should be a balance. There should be certain decisions, of course, which should be retained because they are confidential in nature. They should not be given to the middle lower levels, but at the same time some of them should be given to the middle lower levels also. There should be a balance of this centralization and decentralization. So it should not be total centralization or total decentralization. It should be a balance between the two. That's what it is. A very important thing that we see in organizations, formal organizations, is that there are subordinates and there are bosses. There are people who are managed and there are people who manage them. So scalar chain is that every time you see in an organization that people are working at different levels, they are subordinates, they are people who are commanding, and there are people who are giving orders, and there are people who are taking orders. Now consider this particular figure. You will see that there is A at the top and he is operating two formal lines. One is BCD and another one is EFG. Now at the same time, if D has to say something in a formal way, he has to go to C, and C to B, and B to A. And similarly, if G has to say something to A, it has to be B to F, F to E, and E to A. But there is also a certain thing which is worked out, which is called a gangplank. What is a gangplank? That if at times of emergency, D has to say something to G, it's very important, it is very urgent, and it requires less time. He can go straight away there, which is called a gangplank. Formally, we call this a scalar chain. Scalar chain means that you have to follow it strictly, but the violation will be only in the times of emergency, where we can strike a scalar chain. So children, we have come on to the 10th principle of Henry Fayol's principles of management, and this is order. What is order? I'll just quote this. Order is there should be a place for everything, and that everything should be at its place. There should be a place for everything, and that everything should be at its place. This is order, because if people and places and things are confused, they are not at their right places, we cannot find them whenever they are needed. So consider an example of a hospital. If you move into a hospital in the midday, what is a hospital like? It seems that there will be chaos, there will be people, in pain, there will be something that is like hospital atmosphere. But when you move into a hospital, you feel that there are people right at their places, working, they know where is what, and they are working. People are managed very well. People are in pain, but they are managed. There is some operation going on a table somewhere in a theater. There are people in OPD in queues, and there are people in wards. There are people seen out there. So this means that everything is at its place. It seems to be chaotic when you just imagine a hospital situation, but it's not, because there is order. Order means there should be a place for everything, and then everything should be at its place. Remember, if you want to find out a particular tour for a particular operation at one time, this worker will move around looking for the tool. It will waste his time. He should know what is the place he should find it in, and then he should go there and get it, fetch it up. This is it. The next principle says equity. Equity means that there should be managers who are just and fair at all levels of management. Now see, if your manager treats you in an unfair way, you also will be thinking something in reciprocal. That means that everything will go wrong. This means that we have to take care as managers that there should be justice prevailing. We should not do anything which hurts the sentiments of anybody, or we do something which is wrong. So we should be just and equitable regarding anything that we do. We should be honest in our dealings. That is what the principle of equity says. So, children, we have this 12th principle coming up, that is stability of tenure of personnel. What is stability of tenure of personnel? Means that every time you cannot be throwing out people with the reason or without a reason. This again will send a message that this organization is not actually looking at or giving time to the people to prove themselves. You should give them at least some time to prove their abilities, their skills, because after all, you've recruited them. The selection process and other things which are there in staffing, which need a rigorous, exercise, you have done that at a particular cost. You cannot be, every time throwing out people like that. So you have to think before actually you think of turning them out. Now, turning them out should be the last resort, but before that, you should give them some time to prove themselves. Coming on to the next one, that is initiative. Initiative means that every time you are not right, there are people who are waiting for you, your orders, but maybe that they have some better ideas. Give them a chance. Let them take an initiative. Let them do their work. There are people who actually give this work to the workers only. Let them do it in their own way. Maybe they prove better. This is called initiative. Now coming on to the last and the final principle of Henry Fayol's 14 Principles of Management. This is esprit de corps, which means that there should be a team spirit. You together can do it. There should be no I. It should be we together, a team spirit. Your face should not be the indicator. You as a team should be the indicators. So esprit de corps means that you are a team. You are not you individually. You are a team. So these were the 14 principles of management as given by Henry Fayol. I hope you understood them. Children, we'll see you in the next session. Thank you for being patient listeners. Goodbye.